this real stirring that I felt like God wanted me to just to share some prophetic things that He's been showing me, just to help us all be on the same page and try to understand what the season is that God's been on as well. And I think it just helps us with more understanding. And because the seasons have changed, and it is a different season, and it's like, what's God up to now, you know? And I just wanted to go through a little bit of what's happened over the last few years. About around 2010, a guy from Jonathan Lever came up from Green Lane Christian Fellowship down in Auckland and had a real burden on his heart. And he said to us that the Lord has just burdened him and really put in a real cry in his heart that God's raising up Māori leaders. We're going to be raising up Māori throughout Northland, and that He's really got he's lifting them up to be able to be in their seat, in their position that God's put them beside, to be able to be fully able to fly, you know, and for us to, and then that He's got things reserved in the Spirit for them to do, and I just honour. It's just such exciting to hear what was in Stephanie's heart, you know. It's just these amazing daughters, these amazing sons all around the place that are just standing up and taking their place, you know. Oh, yeah. And I just honour you all, and so at that time. There was like how he's been pastoring. Ken would know, been around forever, and so there's just been very few Māori leaders, Ken, really, and how there's been very few Māori pastors in the north, and it's a grieving, you know, that you're just longing to see our brothers and sisters take their place, you know, and be able to really just to be able to really fly, you know, and so around 2013, the Lord gave me a vision. One night, we live in Pakaraka, and behind us is this Mount Moerewa called Moerewa, and in some reading, I've discovered that it was 800 years ago. It was the birthplace of Ngāpui, and by Tāhuhu Ngā Oranga. Some you guys will help me out, some of you. And is that great ancestor, and we live just sort of near it. And anyway, one night I just had a dream, and in that dream the glory of God was just coming upon the mountain, and God was saying, unleash, 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 and He's commissioning Māori to be able to be seers, to be able to see what God is seeing, to be able to bring it forth and to bring it down, you know. And Ngāpui, God's calling Ngāpui to take to do that. And anyway, I went back to sleep that night, and then I woke up, and the Lord was saying, you're going to hear heaven. And I went back to sleep again. He said other things too, but then I went back to sleep again, and He said, you're going to hear the sound of heaven. And then I went back to sleep again, and at about 7 minutes past 5, bells and trumpets just went off in the Spirit so loud. It was just like, ta-da! This is the time. And He was saying, I'll read out some of the things He was saying because it's so important. He was saying, it's time now. Win the nation back. The nation of warriors. The double doors are open. The time of Cyrus is here. In Isaiah 45, the double doors are open. And I had so much joy in my spirit. I was just like jumping, leaping inside my spirit with what God was doing. And then the next night I went to sleep, and then the Lord gave me a picture of, a little picture like this, and He said, set the sails. And He said, and He said, it was an upside down sail, to catch the winds of heaven. And He said, I want you to make this out of glass. And I was like, you make something out of glass. You know, your grid goes, what? I've never done that before. And He said, I want you to make this in glass. And I thought, wow. And then He said, nothing's impossible. Yeah. And Amen. And He said, nothing's impossible. Impossible, He said, impossible is possible. Arise, awaken, the end time move of God. Outstanding worship. Off the planet worship, extraordinary worship. And all the things He's saying. Then a year later, I went to my friend. I was with a friend at Pastor's Day, and she said, Vicki, I'm going to be going into my studio this week in a month's time or so, and I'm going to be making some things with glass. Would you like to come make something out of glass? I said, absolutely. So here's my little sail. my upside down sail. And actually, and the indigenous people, like the Māori people, I think they had sails, something, I don't know, something like that. It was more like that, but it was more, but God was saying it's an upside down sail to catch what God was saying. And there's been so much winds happening in the last few years, and it's been a lot of turmoil too. And it's like, but God's been saying, keep your eyes on heaven. What is God up to? You know? And He's wanting us to pull heaven down. And so then after that time, in about 2013, there just started to be a real move of God that we noticed from that Māori were called, or from all over the nation, all over the nations, to come back to their homeland. And the winds had changed. And then we've got the lady Binny outside in the kitchen. She's from Wales, and the Holy Spirit called her. She just couldn't get it off her. She never wanted to come back to Moerewa, ever. And she told the Lord that, but God kept saying to her, come back to Moerewa, come back to Moerewa. And as soon as she started to come back to Moerewa, peace came into her heart, miracles started to happen, and she's here. And then we had people come from Aussie, we've had people come from Auckland, and God's been bringing people all around up to the north, from all over the world, all around Australia, from New Zealand, to position them up here.
Yes.
And then not only that, in that time, from about that time, God's called mighty leaders, that men and women of God that have been pastoring all around New Zealand, and called them to come up, and they've specifically heard the call to come into Northland. Jeff, Colin, I've got some others. Who? John, that's right. I've got them written down.
Trent.
Yeah, Trent. Richard, that's some more, there's some other. And that Jean and David, they're kind of like long-term been pastoring for years, you know, and they've got that kind of the wisdom of years of serving God, and the wisdom of being able to lead churches, and then God's calling these mature ones up into the north to be here to add strength to us all, you know. And they've got, their heart is to not to be in one church, their heart is for the whole body, to strengthen the whole body. And then God's also raised up in that last, from about 2013, there's just been this move of God for our Māori brothers and sisters to take their place.
Yeah.
But Helen's been serving God for how many years is it now? Helen, 12, 13?
13 in New Beginnings.
13 in New Beginnings and pastoring. And God's just been upgrading her because she's just saying yes to Jesus. But God, in the last 13 years, like these are some of the ones that I can think of. There's Jan and Jason. There's Paul and Sally. These are all started churches in the last since 2013. Richard and Phyllis, Tony and Sharon, Tanira and Huhana, Ivy and Mark, Tuffy and Little John, Sonny and Kathy, and then Trent and Jade have all been coming as well. And it's like God's either they've started new churches, or they have taken the position. Laurie and Glenda, that have taken the place of existing leaders, and there's been a transition. So the winds have been changing over this time. And from there, and also when God, in God's heart, He wanted Ngāpuhi to be the ones that received, that they were the ones that honoured the gospel, received the gospel, and brought it into our land. We have the gospel because of our Ngāpuhi brothers and sisters. And we just want to honour you, our Ngāpuhi brothers and sisters. We're so blessed because of you. And I think they're carrying a key, because I was asking Ken and Colin this morning. There was the greatest move of God in New Zealand was way back when the Māori were able to win the nation back. And there was I've heard reports of 60 to 80% of the nation was won to the Lord at that time through our Māori brothers and sisters. So it's just exciting! And so it's just says here what's in all our Māori brothers that are in their hearts, what's in Stephanie's heart, you know. It's just exciting. And I think, and I had a dream one time. And one time in a dream, there was just this, there was some things the Lord wanted to awaken. And then as He awoke, after that was awakened, I saw this massive auditorium, would have been about 10,000 people in it. The presence of God was so glorious and so thick that the service had started, but people were in the hallways running to get into church because they didn't want to miss out. It was just so exciting. The presence of God was so tangible. And then the song leader was on the stage saying, the presence of God, the Holy Spirit is over that part of the auditorium now. And that part of the auditorium fell under the power of God. And so as he's waking us up, that's what he's going to store. So like this glorious being, that's all of us, and just this unity that's happening among us. And as these, and what I just wanted to honour all of the older ones that have paved the way, that have laid foundations in the north, that have years of sacrifice, that have built and that have sacrificed, that have preached the word, that have won people to Jesus, that have just laid a foundation, and it's just been getting strength to us all. It's just laid for us all. They have done a work that we can now stand on those shoulders. And then there's been the ones that are now coming, that the next generation, we just honour the next generation that is coming, to be beside and to be able to be with. And it's like this glorious joy of being together.
Yes.
And it's like, I want to tell you a story that Andy told me one time of John G. Lakes and Tommy Hicks. And Tommy Hicks was a man who brought the revival into Argentina. And John G. Lake was in Spokane, isn't it, love? Spokane, it's a city. And it became the healthiest city in the world because there was 100,000 documented miracles in that nation. And now in his city. And so anyway, Tommy Hicks was they're both great evangelists at that time. And Tommy Hicks was just rising, and God was just pouring out His Spirit on him. And he was just amazing what God was doing through his life. And then he came to a plateau. Then John G. Lake came, and he was just moving gloriously in God, many healings and stuff. And then he outpassed the kind of like the growth that was happening in Tommy Hicks's life. And then he was up in here, but then he plateaued. And then, but Johnny Hicks just kept honouring, and he saw his brother, and he spoke life over him, he spoke blessing over his ministry, he spoke goodness over him, and he honoured him to the people that he was with, and then the glory of God came upon his life again, and then he started to come out of the plateau and started to move again, up and go higher glory. Then John G. Lakes, and he became more known than, I suppose, than John G. Lakes. And then Tommy Hicks was here. And then John G. Lakes just started to honour Tommy Hicks and just bless his ministry and honour his ministry and encourage it and to add strength to it. Because we are gateways. What we believe and what we do and what we honour are gateways. And so we're a gateway for our people to believe what we're doing. So it's important for us to honour. It's important for us to build. It's important to us to cheer each other on. And so, then God started to unstuck the plateau from John G. Lake's life, and he started to go from glory to glory. And so, you see, we're plateau. I feel like I've been in a plateau season, but it's the time to honour Laurie. It's the time to honour Glenda. It's the time to honour our Māori brothers and sisters. They're rising. It's time for us to cheer them on, to celebrate, to celebrate them. Through honour. We're going to look at the Christ in each other and the calling of God in each other and speak into the calling and see the Jesus in each other. I've come from a real painful place because I was looking at the flesh rather than the call of God. And when things are different, like when someone else takes the place, and I honour Laurie and Glenda, and I honour them because Laurie has taken the place now of leadership in our church, and it wasn't an easy thing for him. He had to really wrestle with God, and God said yes to him, and then peace came to his heart. But he just think completely different than we did, and it was like an ouch, and like I was just like flattened, and it's like, but I have to trust. I have to keep looking at the Christ within Laurie and cheer him on and honour that was in him, and it's like, and like so he can really fly because in his flying we all fly, and so it's like adding strength to one another. And with I just want to honour Stephanie and also Dawn going to Israel because I was just on Google the other day and looking at where's the furthest place from Israel, and it said 500. The city's got a 500,000 or more, and the city was Auckland. That's us.